Coming up next on Living on the Edge with Chip Ingram.
The wisdom of God tells you He's bringing the best possible results by the best possible means for the most possible people for the longest possible time. Oh, the wisdom and the knowledge. He knows all things.
Welcome to Living on the Edge. My name is Chip Ingram. We're starting a brand new series. It's entitled Good to Great in God's Eyes. You know, a number of years ago, I was doing a series on Good to Great, and I was taking a leadership team through Jim Collins' book by that title. And as I was up late one night, I realized, you know, there's a paradigm in this book, and the paradigm is, what do great companies have in common? I mean, what are their practices? What do they actually do? And I began to think to myself, well, what is it that great Christians have in common? And we're going to start a series and identify the 10 practices that great Christians have in common. In this part number 1, we're going to realize that they think great thoughts. When you find people that are great in God's eyes, you're going to learn they think great thoughts.
I've got a little word association game I'd like to play with you very briefly. Tell me what these words have in common. Atkins, South Beach, low carb, high protein, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers. Are we there? It's diets, right? It's what you put in your body. You know, someone has said, you are and we are what we eat. And we know it's true physically. I mean, it's absolutely scientifically proven. If you want to change your cholesterol, you got to change your diet. If you want to change your body, if you want to lose weight, I mean, if you want your heart, your body, et cetera, to change, you have to change, and I have to change what I put in my mouth. But often what we forget, it is just as true psychologically as it is physically. University of Tennessee did a study, Dr. Jack Hadkins, and it was a 12-year study trying to measure in some way the impact of what people put into their minds. They had a control group and a non-control group listen to a 5-minute daily radio program every day, and then they tested them. The results were, if there were 4 negative items in the 5-minute radio program, the listeners were 1, more depressed, 2, believed the world was a negative place to live, 3, were less likely to help others, and 4, began to believe that what they heard would actually happen to them. Empirical research. 5 minutes, 5 little minutes of listening to 4 negative things impacted them that much. Imagine what, in the average home, 6 to 7 hours of not listening only radio, but 6 to 7 hours a day of TV is doing to the average person in America. You are what you eat. I am what I eat. It is true physically. It is true psychologically. The scripture says, what, Proverbs 23? As a man thinks, or as a woman thinks in her heart, so is he. In fact, Ralph Waldo Emerson even gets in. He says, life consists of what a man is thinking about all day. Your life consists merely of what you're thinking about all day. But it's also true spiritually. And Romans 8, you might jot this down, verses 5 to 8, when you have some time, are worth looking at. Talks about this deliverance we have, the Spirit being in us, the law and the Spirit of life, the law, Spirit of death. And then after talking about having been delivered by what God has done, it says, for the mind set on the flesh is death. The mind set on the Spirit is life and peace. For the mind set on the flesh is hostile toward God, and it is not able even to please God. I'm going to become physically what I put in my body. I'm going to become psychologically and spiritually what I put into my mind. I'd suggest that the most important decision you make and the most important decision your children make and your grandchildren make every single day is this: what they allow to go into their mind. Because you'll notice there's a little graphic on the bottom of your notes. And the idea is wrong thinking leads to negative emotions that leads to unwise behavior that leads to devastating consequences. Often what happens in our lives when we want to change, we usually start at the wrong place. We often start with the behavior. I'm eating too much. I'm eating too much. I want to stop eating. I wish I was eating. I'm drinking too much. I'm not doing enough of this. And we start with the behavior. And we go through cycles and we can't figure out. Some people get a little smarter and they start with the emotions, like, why am I feeling this way? I notice that I eat when I feel this way. I notice I have these outbursts of anger when I feel this way. That's still not starting far back enough. You have to start, it all begins with your thinking. Wrong thinking produces negative emotions. Negative emotions will produce behavior that is unwise. And a pattern of unwise behavior, what's the scripture say? If you sow to the flesh, you reap corruption. A man and a woman, don't be deceived, my beloved brethren. I'm going to reap what I sow. By contrast, right thinking produces positive emotions. Positive emotions produce wise behavior, and wise behavior, sowing over time, produce fruitful consequences. We are a product of our thought life. And the point I want to make is change, all lasting change begins with how you think. And the scripture is filled with it. I gave you Romans 8, 5-8. Study sometimes Ephesians 4, 22 to 24. Take off the old, have your mind renewed, put on. I mean, it's everywhere. Colossians 3, set your mind on the things that are above, not on the things that are earth. Set your mind where your life is hidden with Christ. Over and over and over and over. Just get out your coordinates and look up the word mind, or look up the word metamorphosis or transformation or change, and just watch how it is peppered all through Scripture. Change begins with your thinking. To go from good to great in God's eyes is to think great thoughts. We are a product of our thinking. Our emotions flow from our thoughts, and what we allow to enter our mind is the most important decision we make every day. That's the net. That's the summary. Now notice, since we're a product of our thought life, God commands us. I didn't just make this up. He commands us to think great thoughts. And you say, well, where do you get that? Well, follow along. Let's look together at Philippians chapter 4. Look at verse 8. Finally, brethren, verse 6, don't be anxious for anything. Verse 7, how God's going to work as you learn to pray, give thanks in the peace of God. Verse 8, he says, finally, brethren, whatever is true, that means objectively true, conforms to reality. Whatever is honorable, that has the idea of that which is worthy of respect or dignity. Whatever is right has the idea of justice or righteousness. Whatever is pure, that's the idea of moral purity, free from defilement. Whatever is lovely, that has the idea of something that is winsome and attractive and beautiful. Or whatever is good, and the idea here is admirable, of good report, worthy of passing on to another. And whatever is of any excellence, and if there is anything worthy of praise, dwell on these things. A great little biblical exercise is to go through and circle all of those words and just do a little mini Bible study on what they mean. And then they can become a little grid for what I allow to come into my mind. Whatever is true, whatever is lovely, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is good repute. And then Paul kind of thinks, in case I left something out, if there is any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, notice what he says, dwell on these things. That's the first command. Then notice the second command is the things that you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, then what do? Those are all recepting type words, aren't they? Learned, received, heard, seen. Take all this data, practice these things, and what's the promise? The God of peace will be with you. You see, when we're anxious, really, you know what anxiety is? Anxiety is just dwelling on something. Anxiety is negative meditation. I mean, some people say, well, I don't know how to meditate on Scripture. Well, just try worrying and reverse it. It works, right? I mean, anxiety is, I wonder what's going to happen. I don't know. Well, the economy's going kind of south a little bit, and I've got some money put away over here, and if that doesn't come through, then I might have to come out of retirement. Or, I had planned to do with this, and what happened? Well, one of my grandchildren, and if that happens, then they could meet one of those kids at one of those colleges, and I wouldn't have enough money. I wouldn't have enough money. I have one of my kids with one of those kids. And then I think I'm hyperventilating, And what do? We take one little thing and we dwell on it, and then we pull it apart, and then we factor out all the possible negative things that could happen. What happens to your emotions? Tightening of the chest, start to get depressed, little panic attack, depression. See, you are a product and I'm a product of my thinking. And when my thinking begins to go south, my emotions begin to really go in a bad direction. And I'd like to tell you I'm real objective, and I make all my decisions, just based on good thinking and objective criteria. I got news for you. Most of us make our decisions in an emotional state. And we are swayed by how we're feeling and what we do. And what the Apostle Paul is saying is that in the area of anxiety, come to God and learn to offer it, recognize what's happening. He uses 3 or 4 different words for prayer. He says, come in general, give thanksgiving, take the specific issue, get it before the Lord, and the promise is that the God of peace will be with you. The peace of God will reign in your hearts. And then he says, now let's get rid of that as a lifestyle. Finally, brethren, what I need you to do is I'm going to go back beyond the emotions, beyond the anxiety, beyond the behavior. I'm going to go back to your thinking. So finally, brethren, he gives us 6 or 7 things and then scrapes the Milky Way. Basically, think godly, pure, righteous, honorable, winsome, lovely, God-honoring thoughts. And the promise is what? The God of peace will be with you. The word dwell there, the command is to dwell. Write that word in, will you? It's to dwell. I actually put the word, in Greek it's logizomai. It means to consider, the word dwell. To think on, to reckon, to deduce, to reason, to calculate, to ponder. To dwell means to deliberate upon through protracted analysis and thought. When he says purity, honorable, justice, righteousness, lovely, beauty, he says, I want you to get your mind focused in, and with a protracted, energetic, intentional ability, think on these things. Meditate on these things. Analyze these things. It's not casual thinking. It's not passive thinking. It's intentionally focused, protracted thought on what is right, pure, good, lovely, and righteous.